So, why are so many people who are truly on the autism spectrum getting missed? Well, it's very simple. Clinicians don't understand that autism manifests in many different ways in varying personalities. I mean, pervasive development disorder, which it's called, I'm seeing because I'm astute now and I'm an expert on high function autism or Asperger's syndrome, and I can see it all around me. I've been through recovery groups and anxiety groups and whatnot, and I see it within those groups. Not everybody, but a good percentage of the people that are struggling and suffering with mental health issues are on the spectrum, and I can tell. There's tons of people falling through the cracks, and there's still kids who are falling through the cracks that should be getting their diagnosis so that they can get helped and protected from their vulnerabilities. What we're seeing is people that have difficulties, the core difficulties with changes, interpreting social nuances, obsessive behavior, zoning in on something and perseverating, not being able to move on. We're seeing this in, adults that are at this point extremely troubled and wounded by this disability that has gone under the radar. Why are we missing it? It's clear. Autism is thought of as a personality. It's too heavily profiled with a particular personality. Clinicians and people in the world are not taking into consideration how autism can manifest in different people. They're not taking into consideration that many autistics may be very socially motivated and extroverted and try to connect with people. They may fail and get rejected, and then they develop trauma, and that turns into getting defensive with people, and they're not able to, because they're lacking theory of mind, they're not able to see what went wrong. How can you when you can't read somebody properly, when you can't read their face properly, especially when you think you can and you can't? You get misdiagnoses like borderline personality disorder. That's a big one. I think a lot of women whom are actually, high function autism have been misdiagnosed with borderline personality disorder. You can see the correlation between these two things if you look at the fact that, these women are emotionally immature and underdeveloped. They misinterpret what people say to them as rejection. They throw a fit, could be like a meltdown, right? If these women had some insight, if these women received a diagnosis of Asperger's syndrome, high function autism, they might be able to get better. They might be able to see that they're misinterpreting people. Unfortunately, there is some truth in the rejection because there is an awkwardness to the way that these people present. They don't understand it. The other party doesn't understand it. And we've got a big fat mess. And so then the person is judgmental, the other party, and they do in fact reject the person. And then it just, it fulfills the expectation in the unknowingly autistic person's mind that they are being rejected. And then the cycle continues. So, if this person were to receive insight, receive a diagnosis, or even just insight, a diagnosis is very hard to get right now because clinicians are very difficult about giving out diagnoses. But still, even the insight, the insight itself has helped a lot of people online, a lot of people that I connect with. Some of them may not have their official diagnosis. However, they've come across the information about Asperger's syndrome. They realize that this is what is going on for them. They read about it, and it's incredibly helpful to them, incredibly helpful. If we could just sort of spread this information out. I've gone to groups for different things, addiction recovery, anxiety, and guess what? I've pointed out the Asperger's thing in these groups, and there have been women in particular and guys that have come forward and said, hey, I think I'm an Aspie too. In fact, one particular lady, I led to her realization that all of her issues were due to the fact that she's an Aspie. And now I just love this lady. I mean, she's just a wonderful person. And she's a great friend. And she attends, Aspie meetups. And she really enjoys, relating with other people. She knows she's an Aspie. She knows she always was. And I'm so happy, I'm almost going to cry, that I was able to point that out to her. Because she's gotten so much better. I've watched her grow from that. So, I mean, seriously, people are getting hurt. People are falling through the cracks. People are getting treated like shit and not being understood because they're probably on the spectrum. They're probably suffering from a pervasive developmental disorder, not a mental illness, not a personality, not a borderline personality, not a, narcissistic personality, or even sociopathy. Some people are even misdiagnosed with sociopathy. At 18, I had an incredibly cruel psychiatrist tell me that I was a sociopath. And, look at me. Am I a sociopath? That's laughable. Absolutely laughable. I'm so empathic, I don't even know what to do with it sometimes. But because I couldn't talk about my traumatic situations with any emotion, because I knew that I would get too upset, she deemed that I was a sociopath. How judgmental can you possibly get? This is an 18-year-old girl, for God's sakes. So I'm just saying, psychiatrists are so cruel and so judgmental, and they think they're gods. And you know what? They're not fucking gods. Pardon my language. I don't like to swear in my videos. But we need more neuropsychology. We need more trauma awareness. A lot of this, I'm doing a trauma course right now. And, autism and post-traumatic stress disorder, that's a nasty combination. And unfortunately, it's a common combination because of the fact that when people don't know they're autistic, they get hurt by other parties that don't understand them. So I'm just saying, there is an entire generation, and we want to prevent this in new generations. We want kids to get diagnosed with something that can help them. Preferably autism spectrum, but something. Because there's an entire generation of people that have been missed, that have gone under the radar, that have fallen into mental health troubles, that have fallen into addiction. I walked along East Hastings, and what I saw? I saw autism spectrum in a lot of those people. They were on drugs to regulate their ridiculously overactive central nervous systems. Sensory issues galore, These guys are taking drugs, they're artists. They collect like crazy. They know how to collect. They know how to create. They're brilliant. They're fluid. And yet they're addicted to drugs, and they're standing there on East Hastings with their teeth rotting and falling out, sick as dogs. Come on, guys. Come on, world. Can't we do better than that? This is not okay. This is societal abuse. Okay? These are people with hearts, with too much empathy, and that empathy has destroyed them. They suffer from a disability. They may be on the autism spectrum. Many of them are. I'm not saying all, but a very significant percentage. And we've got to start recognizing it. Even if we can get the information out to them, maybe some of them can get clean and recover from their mental health issues, recover. That's what we want, is recovery and love and light and understanding. Love and tolerance for everyone, guys. Love and tolerance. That's a 12-step concept, and I don't agree with all of 12-step, but some of those concepts are really great, and that is one of them. The other one is, the serenity prayer. I have to say it to myself. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. You know what? I can't change the entire world. I can't change what's going on with people not knowing they're on the autism spectrum and suffering out there. But what I can change is I can break my own silence. I can speak out about what I feel in my heart, from what I've seen, from what my experience is, having survived this myself, having survived not knowing. I didn't know that I was autistic. I beat myself up to the core. I knew something was wrong with me. I just thought I was stupid and defective. And now I realize I have compassion for that girl. I can't even go by my first name. I go by my middle name, which is Rose. I dare not mention my first name because it is associated with trauma and pain. So I cannot go by my first name. That's how bad it is for me. But I'm healing, and I want to see other people heal. And like I said, the girl that I passed on that information about being an Aspie, she's doing awesome. Let's share this when we go to groups. Let's not just go to Aspie groups. Let's go to general anxiety groups. Let's go to addiction recovery groups if that's an issue for you. And let's talk about being an Aspie. Maybe something will touch upon someone. I think it's important. I know it's not always the place to go on and on and on about it, but just to mention it. And then if the person wants to talk with you more on the side, they can get your phone number or your email, and talk with you about it. It's just something that we should be passing on, passing on our information, our recovery. If we're the lucky ones. If we realize that we're Aspies and we're gaining awareness, even getting a diagnosis, if we're super lucky, that's amazing. That's a gift from the universe, man. And we got to pass that on to people that are walking around in an abyss, in a blindness, and in a stigmatism, not knowing that they may be on the spectrum. So that's my passionate rant for today. I really feel strongly about this, guys, and let's just do this. I love you all for tuning into my videos, and I just love to help people and, contribute to gaining awareness about these issues. It's so important. So yeah, love and light.